Hey, Dr. Mike here. If you want to live forever-ish, you got to know what's in and what's not. Stay tuned to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Forever-ish. So, Dr. Crystal, this is our in and out.
I love this show. And you know what? Our listeners love it as
well. This series, because that's what it is. It's a series.
Mm-hmm.
Every Monday we talk about things to help you live forever-ish and some things that can stop you from living forever-ish. So the ins is what you want to do. The out is what you don't want to do or have or whatever.
1 out.
3 ins, 1 out. So let's get into the first in for living forever-ish. Sleep regularity. Let me just read this right here, okay? Research shows that sleep duration, too little or too much, outside that 7 to 9 hour range, is associated with dimensions of health such as a higher risk of all-cause mortality.
And that's what most of your sleep guidelines focus on. It's the number of hours you're sleeping per night. You need to get at least 7 to 9.
That's a consistent range.
Right.
That's a consistent range. I think most people probably who have problems sleeping, at least in this country, just based on how we live now, it's probably on the shorter side of things, not the longer side. But I actually read this report, Dr. Crystal, it was probably, I can't remember, a couple years ago, talking about people who are sleeping over 10 hours a day. They may be healthy at that moment, but maybe their body's going through something that's requiring more sleep. And that's where that thought comes in. If you're over 10 hours consistently, maybe there is something brewing in there deep.
Okay, so it's not the sleep causing the problem. There is an
it's
underlying
probably
problem
the problem
that's causing you to sleep longer.
Yes, that was at least according to this one paper that kind of looked at this.
Okay, good.
So if you're sleeping past, and I think that's another thing we got before we get into the study, because it's an interesting study, right? We're talking about patterns, consistent patterns, right?
Right.
If for a couple days you don't get as much sleep, or a couple days you're over 10, that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about more of a consistent pattern, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Where do you fall in this?
That's why I said it was sort of good and bad. I'm at 9.5.
I am too.
I'm an early bird.
I am too.
And I sometimes wake up early, and sometimes I can sleep until 7:30. And that's when I say early bird. By 9, I'm in the bed. Maybe sleep
early
by
bird
9:30.
At 9. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm in my PJs by 7:30. I'm usually in bed by 8:30. And I am. I don't care. Laugh. It's what I do. Matter of fact, there's an event going on that I was invited to on Saturday, and it started at 7 p.m. And the first thing I thought was, that's close to my bedtime.
I should be in my PJs.
I'm not sure I'm not going to go.
Oh, goodness, Dr. Mike. Live a little.
Let's talk about what this sleep duration study showed. What did they find? Or what were they measuring?
Well, so we know that sleep duration, how much sleep. This study is now about sleep regularity, which is different than duration. Sleep regularity is the day-to-day consistency of sleep-wake timing. And what research is showing, that is recent evidence, it's a stronger predictor of some health outcomes compared to sleep duration. And so the research, they know that duration matters, but regularity
where you fall, what that pattern is.
What is, and
we just said that. Yeah.
So what is your pattern? And so the research with sleep regularity historically has been more subjective. And so now this study is bringing in objective data. The participants wore these sleep watches. And so now we're able to kind of take a look at, over a period of time, what you do on a regular basis makes a difference.
And how that matter of fact, they were looking at, they were measuring risk for all-cause mortality, mortality from cardiometabolic causes, and cancer. And this was about over 1,800 people, right? Yeah, 1,859 participants.
Right. So, and over 10 million hours of sleep was calculated into what's called the Sleep Regularity Index. So these are the scores that they measured from the individuals wearing those watches.
Right. Yeah. And then they follow them. Anytime you're looking at all-cause mortality, et cetera, you have to follow for a pretty decent amount of time.
Right.
So here, I think it was close to 8 years that they followed. Again, that is limiting this study a little bit, right? You have to, the more, hopefully maybe they're continuing the study as well, right? I don't know if they are, but do another 8 years, another 8 years. Then you can really grab onto that data. But what they showed, basically people who had higher sleep regularity, right? That's they're more consistent within that range, I think, right?
So they have a consistent bedtime,
wake up time,
amount
of sleep time,
not really randomly having naps.
Okay, yeah.
So
Dr. Krista, you're a napper.
Yeah. So that what I learned is if I'm going to nap, I need to nap regularly, nap at the same time because, and I'll
be
explain
regular
why.
about it.
It's regular because what happens, the irregularity is throwing off your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
And the body likes to be on the rhythm. That controls blood
habitual,
sugar.
ritual.
We talk about those clock genes.
Yeah. But it's true.
We talk about the clock genes, and the body likes, there are things that happen at specific times in this 24-hour day-night cycle, from blood pressure to blood sugar to
hormones,
protein synthesis to hormone production. The body is regulating that. And so when you just throw it off and take a random nap, that's what the body is. The body. The people listening can't see me flailing around.
Yeah, well, they can watch on YouTube right there. There's your camera. Well, okay. So someone like me, who I do not take naps, and listen, it's not because I'm against naps. I'm just not a napper. It's just hard for me to do. Yeah. So I probably shouldn't nap then. My regularity is not napping. Aha.
I think if you regularly throw the body off, it's about keeping a pattern. The body likes that.
Right. So if you keep a pattern, high sleep regularity, here's what we got. 20% to 48% lower risk of all-cause mortality, and that's a significant difference. 16 to 39% lower risk of cancer mortality, also significant. Oh no, that one, what? Yeah, well, it depends on where you fall in that range, whether it was significant or non-significant or whatever, but pretty close. And then 22% to 57% lower risk of cardiometabolic mortality. So there you go. You get a regular schedule.
Yes, and so the researcher said here's your goal, listeners. Maintain more similar sleep times between days to improve sleep regularity rather than devoting a greater portion of the day to sleep.
Yeah. I'm very consistent. And so I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. You are too, I think, for the most part.
You would be in that 20 to 48% lower risk of all-cause mortality. Woo-hoo! You combine that with all the add-ins that you take.
Yes. And so I think overall what this study is representing to me is I think you already said it. Circadian rhythms is really this is what this is about.
Right. And you can't ignore duration. Yeah. I do have to say that the researchers found duration plays a role in that, all that. Yeah.
Even
more.
To me, it's just all balanced circadian rhythms. Wow, that's good. Let's go on to, so in number 1 is have balanced circadian rhythms. Okay, there we go. In number 2 is you want more muscle mitochondria, and you can get that with a specific nutrient, nicotinamide riboside. Yes. Tell us about this one.
So the purpose that the researchers wanted to determine whether long-term in our supplementation, and I'll put a pin in long-term, 5 months.
That's so funny to me. 5 months. That's not that I've been taking it NR for 2 years.
For diet, well, when you consider most of the NR, a lot of the NR research is 12 weeks, about 3 months. A lot of with dietary supplements, 12 week, 3 month, they're like, okay.
But I would be great. It'd be great to follow up with some longer. Anyway, all right. Anyways, go on. Sorry.
The idea was to see the long-term NR supplementation, if it boosts mitochondrial biogenesis and metabolic health in humans. We have seen this in animal models. And so, yes, this was published in the journal Science Advances, January 2023.
So real quick, just kind of let's back up, make sure the audience is up to date on all this, right? So NR is a precursor to NAD.
Yes.
Right? Nicotinamide adenylyl ribonucleotide.
Ooh, that was good, Doctor.
No, I kind of flubbed it.
No, but I mean, at least you knew it. Sometimes I have to, okay, what is it again?
I get NAD and NAC messed up sometimes. I do. And anyway, all right. Okay, so back to what I'm trying to do here, Dr. Crystal. You're throwing me off on these tangents. So NAD, at the end of the day, the easiest way to explain it is it is an electron transport system, because the movement of electrons from food to cell to energy is critical.
Yes.
And NAD is a bus to transport those electrons.
Love it.
Yeah. So to me, it's directly affecting a cell's effectiveness in turning food into energy. And it makes sense then that it has an effect on the powerhouses, the mitochondria.
Basic metabolism.
Yeah.
At the core. And it's also required for the function of over 300 proteins, including sirtuins. You're excited about
our
that?
anti-aging buddies.
Yes, DNA repair.
Oh, very important.
But let's also make sure our listeners know NR, nicotinamide riboside, that's a form of vitamin B3, niacin.
B3. Yeah, it's related to niacin. It's better than niacin because niacin takes several conversion steps to get to NAD. NR takes just a couple. Now, there is should we mention this now? Because there's a competitor for NR, NMD.
An NMN.
I'm sorry, NMN. But that's also a precursor to NAD. The problem with that is it can't cross the cell wall, so it turns into NR. And R is what actually crosses into the cell.
That's right.
And then it turns into NMN and then becomes NAD. So just skip it. Just do NR. You're saving a step of conversion.
Mike. Yeah. And we know NAD levels decline with age. So again, just to make sure, those were a lot of acronyms. NR, nicotinamide riboside, is one of the most efficient precursors to NAD that's driving basic metabolism and energy in your cells.
Raising those mitochondria up. Because if you're going to live forever-ish, you got to make energy. I mean, listen, you know, yes. I used to joke, but it's true. I know how everybody's going to die. You stop making cell energy. Now, I don't know what the cause might be of that, but at the end of the day, you're not making energy anymore.
I guess you're right, Dr. Mike. Okay, I have no words. Let's just move on to the study. So this was an interesting design. I don't know if I've ever seen a study design like this. I'm sure you have in your wise years of reading research. 20 twins, but there were two groups. So the first group of twins, these are identical twins who had varying BMI. So identical twins, one was leaner, one was heavier, and the researchers investigated whether the response to the NR, the nicotinamide riboside, differs between the leaner and the heavier twins.
Okay, so they're it's kind of like what do they call this kind of? There's the control is the monozygotic twins.
Yes,
meaning they share 100% of the genes. This is one egg.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's your control. And then what they're looking at is. You got some that are heavy, some that are light. What kind of effect does NAD have in muscle metabolism, stuff like that in each one? Yeah.
So that's the first group. And then the second group, still twins.
Right. There's your, part of the control.
Still. And so in this group, they apply it's called co-twin control strategy. And these individuals had the same BMI, like the same BMI range. And compared the effects of NR to placebo in that group.
In that group, right. Within that group itself.
Right. Yeah. So there were two groups of twins.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of looking at two different things with the NR between those two groups.
Yeah, the key thing here is that these twins share 100% of their genes. So what you've done is you've leveled out that playing field, right? You're knocking out any of those potential variables by having 100% of the shared genes. That's why this setup wouldn't work in dizygotic twins, which are the fraternal twins who don't share 100% of the genes.
And I think what it also helps is to give it more power because there's only 20 participants.
Yeah.
But because they're all twins, then now
it's more.
It's more. Yeah. Okay, so the dosing was also interesting: 250 to 1,000 milligrams per day, 5 months. But they didn't start them at 1,000. They gradually started at 250. Worked their way up to the full 1,000 milligram dose.
And they working that dose up, did they do that at the beginning of the trial, or was it gradually increased throughout? So like the last week they were at the 1,000.
So I couldn't locate. That was the question that I had. Like, okay, what was that dosing? And I didn't see that in particular. Like the exact schedule of how they gradually increase them, but it wasn't a situation where it was 250 here and then boom up to at one particular point they move them up to the 1,000.
It's a little confusing dosing scale. I'm not sure why not just do a low group 250, a medium group 500, and a medium group of 1,000? Like why this? Anyways, that's what they did. How much do I take of NR every day?
You probably take 300.
That's
a good average, maybe 3 to 6.
I do the life extension NAD plus.
There are 2 different doses. There's 100. There's a 3. Right.
I gotta look.
So I don't know which one you're taking.
I have to look. Okay. All right. Hopefully it's a 300
it looks like you can take more.
Oh yeah, sure. Spend more money. More.
Go ahead, bump it up.
All right. So what did they find? NR improved.
It improved muscle mitochondrial number.
Yeah.
We call that mitochondrial biogenesis.
Yeah. So more powerhouses at the end of the day.
Yes. Improved stem cell function.
Interesting.
Those satellite cells.
Yeah. Okay.
So it improved that. Gut microbiota, DNA methylation. And that the BMI did not matter.
So it didn't really matter at the end of the day. So NAD is doing its job at that cell level, doesn't really care what your body composition is or something at the end of the day.
But if the muscle cells, to me, what stands out is more mitochondria going back there.
Hey, I mean, you got it. Listen, I mean, we've talked about, CoQ10, Shilajit, and all these different adaptogens, boosting. You got to maintain muscle strength, and part of that's going to be maintaining muscle mitochondria.
That's right.
That is living forever-ish. NR, nicotinamide riboside. Let's go on to number 3.
Strawberries. We always have to include food.
I do.
Mike.
I love it. We're food first. I totally agree. Dr. Crystal, you're the doctor of clinical nutrition. I love that you always bring food into our conversations. I'm kind of more of that clinical person who forgets that sometimes. And so I'm very happy that you bring that in. So why are we talking about
all the time
strawberries?
Strawberries, dementia risk. Now we think, when I think brain, I think berries, primarily blueberries, right?
For sure. Brain,
the darker berries.
Yeah, dark colored berries.
Strawberries have a unique antioxidant polyphenol that's not in blueberries called like ellagic acid. And so, it's nice to see that the strawberries, it's getting some love. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, 12-week supplementation with a strawberry powder, freeze-dried. So a whole fruit strawberry powder.
So it wasn't standardized to the ellagic acids or anything like that?
It was not. And the researchers did point that out, that's kind of a limitation because we're not exactly sure the amount of the anthocyanins and those
that's
polyphenols.
Fine. Then this simply becomes a hypothesis generating study. If this has good results, we then need to figure out those percents more, those key compounds, and start standardizing it in a capsule, not a powder.
Right.
Or
but the equivalent was
about
a cup of strawberries, and 30 overweight patients with complaints of mild cognitive decline, and they were also pre-diabetic, middle age, 50 to 65 years old. I did have a space for the exclusion information, but I didn't add it in.
Oh, so it must not have been important.
But I guess it wasn't important. But they did exclude individuals with cardiometabolic disease. And so the whole fruit strawberry powder, long-term memory was assessed, mood, intensity of depressive symptoms, and metabolic data.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess they excluded the cardiometabolic maybe because it's relating to cerebral vascular issues too or something. Is that maybe what so they're trying to get rid of those vascular people.
Right.
Focus on people who have no history of that but having mild. Okay, I get it. That's probably what they did.
They did tell the participants to abstain from fruit juices and fruit extracts. And berries
because they didn't want any competing things, right? That's good. That's good study methodology.
And so with the strawberry group, reduced memory interference. And there were a number of tests to test your long-term memory, short-term memory, wordless tests where they gave you words that had the similar meanings, and so there are a variety of tests.
And they scored better overall.
Scored better. Reductions in depressive symptoms.
That's interesting.
No effect on metabolic measures like the insulin, because remember
these were pre-diabetic.
Yeah. But remember we mentioned this was not a standardized.
Yeah, you're asking, and people who are pre-diabetic, that usually is a sign of significant insulin resistance already, right? And you're asking a lot for strawberries some of our key drugs can barely help. Right? So it's let's don't beat up on the strawberry for that one.
Right, but that's the researcher said that was a limitation, and maybe if it was an extract, they may have noticed more improvements with some of the metabolic measurements. And
then the reduction in depressive symptoms, is that simply because they're happier now because their memory's coming back? Is that you think it is more of a physiological thing going on? Okay, all right. I was thinking they're just feeling better.
No, I think we know the connection between inflammation, chronic inflammation, and mental health concerns.
There you go. That's in number 3. Eat some strawberries, right?
1 cup a day.
I love when strawberries are in season.
I know.
Man, that's so good.
And there's the patch here in South Florida.
Yeah, you've told me about that before. You pick your own, right, or something? Yeah, that sounds like something you would do with kids. I'm just going to go to the store. Okay. All right, let's go into the thing that you don't want, right? Those are the 3 ins for living foreverish. And this is the out. This is the thing you want to avoid, et cetera, et cetera. It ain't going to help you live foreverish. And in this case, you kind of surprised me with this one. Bad hospital ratings.
Look, if you want to live forever-ish,
don't go to
listen. So this is a report, just to clarify, conducted by the Leapfrog Group safety grade. And I'm just going to say this and then we can have our commentary. But they said people spend more time researching what they're going to eat. They're researching what movie they're going to watch, what cell phone they're by, and don't research the hospitals.
Yeah.
The best hospital to go to.
So maybe that's simply because we just trust the system so much.
I think so, for sure.
Like we like our primary care doctor. Most of the time, you're not in the hospital, and so when you go, you usually go to the hospital your primary care person's associated with, right? So there's maybe just some trust, so you don't think about it.
There's trust, and then most people go when there's a crisis, obviously, and then you don't have time to try to think. Come on, but some ambulance will ask you.
Where you want to go?
I've had them to ask where do you want to go?
As long as it's not life-threatening. If it's life-threatening, they're going to take you to the closest place. But
right.
So I guess what this group does, they look at, there's 2 parts to this, kind of how they grade hospitals, right? Mm-hmm. They look at process and structural aspects, and then they look at outcome. Now, outcome is straightforward. That's you put someone on a treatment, how do they do?
Yeah, or the outcome if you're receiving care how often is the hospital leaving objects in the body after surgery? You hear these stories, Dr. Mike.
Does happen.
I'm not trying to scare anyone.
It happens.
But we are humans.
Happens.
And your doctor is a human being. The nurses.
It happens.
They are human beings.
Yeah, it does. Stuff like that happens.
Happen.
Yeah, processing is more about like how the physicians and nurses work through a diagnosis and offer a treatment. Structural measurements seem to be like, do you have a great computer system for entering stuff? You're not relying on a doctor writing something with their bad handwriting like mine,
or making mistakes and transposing information, preventing those medical errors. So all of that goes into helping the hospital to keep the patient safe.
Yeah, if you go to hospitalsafetygrade.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said that wrong. Hospitalsafetygrade.org.
Type in your zip code.
And boom, you can get the grades of all the local hospitals.
Yep.
That's
in your
simple.
area.
Yeah. So how to keep yourself safe? This is what we're gonna end with, right? So you read the first one.
So medication safety. If you're going to the hospital, take your medications. Discuss your allergies. Don't go by yourself. Find someone. And then ask about side effects before taking something. That's preventing falls too, because what if you take something, you experience a side effect? You want to kind of be prepared.
Yeah. But don't get obsessed with the side effects. Because people start reading all the side effects, and all of a sudden now they're having every single side effect.
Placebo effect.
Yeah. So the placebo effect works on the opposite side of it. It does. You read this drug caused significant dizziness. Next thing you know, you're right. I mean, it does happen. So be careful with that. But I would add to medication safety is not only bring your meds, bring your supplements.
Yes.
Yeah, especially vitamin D. If you're in the hospital, it has been shown vitamin D gets you out of the I can't bang the desk.
Please don't.
Vitamin D gets you out of the hospital faster.
Oh.
Yes. So vitamin D, take your vitamins with you. Talk to your doctor about them.
So you're saying taking them so that you can take them. I thought you were saying take them so that the doctors will know what you're taking.
No.
And they won't give you a medicine that interferes.
Yes, to that too. But I'm talking about take your supplements. Take them. Okay. I mean, get some CoQ10 in there for energy. Get vitamin D. Maybe talk to your doctor. Obviously, I'm not saying don't trick your doctor. Trick your doctor, but bring all that stuff and see what you can take.
I like that,
without a doubt. I'll do the second one: fall prevention. So that's actually a big issue for hospitals. Falls. Patients really trying to get up a little too soon, right? Although I will tell you, if you're in the hospital, I don't care what you're in the hospital for, you do got to move. If you can get up with the help of a nurse, your family, walk down the halls. If you can't move, make sure they're bringing physical therapy in. You got to keep moving. It is critical to recovery. It doesn't matter what you're going through. But fall prevention, use your call button, ask for help. Keep those non-slip socks on. Don't forget to lower the bed and rail.
Yeah, but if the bed's high and then
you're trying to get off.
Further than you
thought it would. It does happen. And if you are having dizzy issues, which does happen, and it's an interesting thing. Inpatients often do complain of dizziness. I think a lot of it's related to they're not hydrated enough in hospitals. But that's just my 2 cents there. Talk to your doctor. And go check out hospitalsafetygrade.org.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your 3 ins and an out for living forever-ish. Don't forget our sponsor, Life Extension. We have a great audience, Dr. Crystal. We're growing in leaps and bounds, and it's fantastic. We want to thank the audience. And so Life Extension is offering anyone who's listening, you go to lifeextension.com, figure out the products you want, go to your cart, and put in the discount code podcast. And you're going to get 10% off anything $50 or more, plus free shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Podcast. And then liveforeverish.com. We now have way over 400 episodes for you to download, like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a show. That's liveforeverish.com. I'm Dr. Mike.
I'm Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.